So hopefully you guys are ready to go on a boat ride, because I'm about to take you down the River Thames. And this baby right here. Stay tuned for that.
This is mainly due to the 23 locks between here and the middle of Oxford, each one taking up to half an hour to negotiate on a busy day. There is a speed limit on the Upper Thames of a little under 5 miles an hour, added to which the Thames takes a very meandering course, so all in all it's not the place to be if you're in too much of a hurry. To our left is Jacob's Island, formerly called Corporation Island. It was renamed after a well-known local councillor and boat builder called Arthur Jacobs. It was here that some of the largest wooden boats, almost twice the length of this one, were built in the now dismantled and long-forgotten boat houses and slipways of the Jacobs Yard.
Yes.
Live there?
As we proceed past Public Meadows to our right, some more of the Eton College buildings become visible, as do the spires of Eton College Chapel, which is built in an almost identical style to St George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. The stone is the perpendicular Gothic style of architecture. Eton College was founded in 1440 by Henry VI, originally named as the King's College of Our Lady of Peace beside Windsor. Incidentally, the college owns nearly all of the land on our right-hand side, here to well beyond our turning points. They in fact own portions of land in many parts of the country, this being largely due to an outdated practice whereby parents of Eton boys used to donate land to the college in order to offset fees. Through the trees to our left shortly, you'll see a full-size replica of a Hawker Hurricane fighter plane. This is a memorial to its designer, Sidney Cam, whose former home stands a few hundred yards beyond. This plane bears the markings of one flown in the Battle of Britain by Squadron Leader John Grandy, who was Constable and Governor of Windsor Castle from 1978 to 1988. Sir Sidney Cam was a pupil of Royal Free School in Windsor. During this time he designed and built model aeroplanes which he then sold to the boys of Eton College. Whilst the Hurricane was his best known aircraft, Cam also designed the Hunter in 1951, which in 1953 went on to break the world speed record of 727 miles per hour.
How many flags can you
Cam's
name?
final design was the
Japan,
Harrier, which remained in RAF
Denmark,
service for 50 years
France,
until 2010.
Romania,
It is still flown by the US
England,
Navy as the AV-8.
Germany, Catalonia.
Ahead of us is the Windsor Railway Bridge, being one of several across the Thames designed by Isambard and Brunel, the famous Victorian engineer. The bridge was completed in 1849 for Queen Victoria, and it brought the Great Western Railway network right up to the front of Windsor Castle. The design of this bridge was unique in its day and for many previous designs. This one, because the 187-foot second span is not secured to the sides in any way, it simply lets it go under its own weight in the sixth bearing, allowing it to expand and contract with the line and undergoing temperature changes. This type of span is supposed to the viaduct was constructed between 1861 and 1865, replacing the trestle structure. The arches were incorporated into the design to prevent floodwater from being trapped on the upstream side in the event of the Thames bursting its banks. It's also believed to be Brunel's oldest surviving structure still in continuous use, and was granted Grade II listed status in 1975. In 1883, Windsor Central Station became part of the London Underground network, when the District line was extended from Broadway to Windsor, using the tracks of the Great Western Railway. However, this was short-lived, as the service was withdrawn in 1885. The land to our left forms part of Bard's Island, so called because in the days before Windsor had a purpose-built swimming pool. The channel behind the island was closed to boats during the summer months, providing the people of Windsor with a safe swimming area. In 1870, Queen Victoria disapproved of the site of maintenance of the Royal Train and had them moved to the downstream end of the island. Then in 1904, the area of the Railway was used again, but this time with men on the downstream side of the bridge in the eastern bars and ladies upstream in the western bars. To our left is the Windsor Leisure Centre, being the current incarnation of Windsor's swimming facility. It replaces an earlier outdoor pool. The centre stands at Davis Walk, leading to Dawn Lake about 2 miles upstream. The venue hosted the rowing and community winter games. Painted by London artist Cosmo Starton, the mural depicts 16 faces representative of the young people of today.
That looks like a submarine, huh?
We're now passing White Lily's Island to our left. The name is misleading as it is in fact a plot of land forming the downstream end of a much larger island. This plot was sold for development by the owners of Clewer Boatyard in 1957 for £7,000. The land and 5 houses on it are now estimated to be worth well in excess of 20 million. Past residents include the Australian singer and actress Natalie Imbruglia, who in fact called one of her albums White Lily's Island. To our right, we're about to round Clewer Point, which forms one of the sharpest bends on this part of the river. For this reason, there is a heavy iron post set into the ground near the end of the point. It's called a strapping or turning post and goes back to the days of horse-drawn barges. As the barges approach the point, the tow rope would be taken off the horse and a few turns made around the post. This would allow the barge to swing safely around the point under its own momentum in a pendulum-like motion. Had they not done this, the barge would have continued on in a straight line towards the opposite bank, probably pulling the unfortunate horse in behind it. Through the trees to our left is Windsor Racecourse. We will see more of this at various stages right up to our turnaround point. We're currently passing the area behind the grandstands. Racing began here at Windsor in 1866 and continues on to this day with regular Monday evening meetings and some weekends throughout the summer.
Nice little home right there, huh?
We're now rounding a bend called Upper Hope, and just beyond these trees to our left is the parade ring of Windsor Racecourse. This course is unique in that it stands entirely on an island. It's called Ray's Island and it's in fact the largest on the Upper Thames, being about a mile long. The only Thames island longer than this one is Canby Island on the Thames estuary beyond London. It's also one of only 2 figure-of-8 courses in the country, the track having been laid out in this way in order to fit the required length of track into the limited space offered by the island. exit at once into the water or behind screens whenever a boat comes in sight with ladies aboard, as in those days the boys used to swim naked in the style of the ancient Greeks, hence the name Athens.
It still happens in Ibiza.
Looking to our left now, through the trees, we can see across the track at Windsor Racecourse, and in the distance the tops of some boats may be visible. This is the Windsor Racecourse Yacht Basin, situated on the Mill Stream which forms Ray's Island. As we travel along the tree-lined banks of the Thames, there is an abundance of bird life to be found. Among the most common is the mallard duck, the male of which has the unfortunate combination of a green head and orange feet. The less common are tufted ducks with their bright yellow eyes showing clearly against a black head, which has a small tail at the back. In some parts there are families of the more ornate mandarin duck, and there have been sightings of other species such as merganser and cockroach. Herons are often seen standing motionless at the waterfront, waiting to pounce on passing fish. They are probably none too impressed with the increasing number of cormorants now moving inland. This large black diving bird is a saltwater species, but in recent years they have started to colonise the Thames, no doubt having realised the rich pickings to be had from the abundant fish life. The crested grebe also dives for fish, and it is so well adapted to this role with its legs right at the back of its streamlined body that it is completely unable to stand on land. The egret is related to the heron but is smaller and completely white, and although very rare, it has been sighted on this river. The kingfisher is another predatory bird, and although fairly common, it is hard to spot, being quite small and fast moving. It is often only seen as a flash of electric blue darting through the trees or across the water. There is the whale family, which includes the moorhen with its black body and red face, and the coot, which is black with a white face and beak. Coots defend their territory ferociously and will often drive swans away. The Canada goose is so prolific that it is now considered a pest, and it is often seen alongside the less common but more attractive Egyptian goose. Looking to the skies, we sometimes see kestrels hovering over fields.
Oh, I love kestrels.
Similar in size and colour is the hobby, which swoops and turns over the wall to catch the insects. The red kite with its distinctive forked tail and 5.5-foot wingspan is now common all along the Thames Valley, having been reintroduced following the eradication of the British Isles. As well as the bird species, there is the otter, which though non-existent in the Thames a few years ago, is now well established on some stretches, thanks once again to a programme of reintroduction. More common is the mink, which although is a native species, has done very well on the Thames. Originally bred in captivity for their fur, some have found their way into the wild, having a serious effect on native fauna due to their hunting ability, taking both birds and their eggs. Due to the significance and uniqueness of bird life in the Upper Thames, French Brothers now operate a dedicated bird and wildlife watching cruise in the Windsor area. Details of this are in our timetable and website, and the places are strictly limited, booking is essential. It is called Thames Head and is close to Cirencester in the Cotswold Hills in Gloucestershire. It flows downhill following the gradients of the land, and for the first 140 miles it passes through 45-foot lock and weir systems spaced along this section, which is known as the Upper Thames. The Upper Thames drops in elevation by about 300 feet, and these lock and weir systems allow the drop to occur as a series of controlled steps of a few feet each time, and there is no tidal effect on the Upper Thames. Botley is the 36th lock from the source, and there are another 9 downstream of here, the last of these being at Teddington, west of London. Beyond Teddington, the remaining 75 miles of the Thames becomes tidal as it flows through London and on into the North Sea. This gives a total length of 215 miles. The weir ahead of us is a bit like a dam spanning the main channel, and it is this which does the main job of controlling the flow and subsequently the level. The lockkeeper does this by raising or lowering the individual gates, usually in response to recent rainfall. Allowing a faster flow during wet weather prevents a build-up in level which could lead to flooding, while in dry weather the weir gates are closed in, holding the water back but maintaining a safe depth for boats to navigate. Indeed, the lockkeepers maintain a chain of communication along the river, keeping the upper Thames at a more or less constant level throughout the year. Towards the right-hand end of the weir is the salmon ladder, this being a narrow channel divided lengthways by a series of baffles which slow the water down and cause slight backflow, assisting the migrating salmon in their arduous journey to the source of the river. Salmon were successfully reintroduced to the Thames in 1982 after a long absence, and they have become firmly re-established since then. This is mainly due to the cleanliness of the water these days, the Thames in fact being now officially recognised as one of the world's cleanest metropolitan rivers, that is to say one which flows through major towns and cities. This was not always the case though, and in the 1800s the river was so badly polluted that it was declared dead in the London area, and that no fish or bird life could survive in or around the water. The smell of the river was unbearable to those who lived or worked near it. Diseases such as typhoid and cholera were rife, and this period was known as the Great Stink. For Londoners, things improved greatly in the 1850s with the building of Joseph Bazalgette's enclosed sewage system, and elsewhere along the river many improvements have been made, and the process continues to this day. The colour of the water is deceptive. Despite looking dirty, the brownish-green tint is caused by naturally occurring sediments and microorganisms. Having turned around, we now embark on the downstream leg of our journey, which would take us to London and then on to the North Sea. And for the same reasons as mentioned before, the journey from here to central London would take in the region of 12 hours. However, we are not limited to the River Thames. In fact, much of England is linked by canals and rivers. The first canals were built by the Romans for the purposes of irrigation, as well as linking navigable rivers. But it was the Industrial Revolution of this. But now a band is placed around the bird's leg bearing a serial number. Swan upping serves as a census as it records numbers of swans, and the birds are also checked for weight and general condition. The swan's diet consists mainly of green vegetation, and it's for this reason that the branches of some of the willow trees appear to have been neatly trimmed a foot or two above water level. To our right, we will pass the mooring pontoon and jetty at Winter Racecourse, allowing the French Weather Street to transport racegoers to and from the course whenever there is a race meeting or any other event being held here. The journey takes a little under 10 minutes each way and allows racegoers to have a relaxing drink on board whilst avoiding the tedious traffic jams which always occur on race days. As we once again round Clewer Point, we will pass the grounds of the Clewer Mill House to our right, the main building being a red brick Georgian house set back from the river beyond the two cottages which are immediately visible. The mill has stood on this site since the 10th century and was mentioned in the Domesday Book as having a value of 10 shillings. It was powered by the mill stream which forms Rose Island and continued to mill corn until 1900. After this time it was converted to residential use, and during the 1970s it was the home of the British actor Michael Caine. In 1980 he sold the house to Jimmy Page, the guitarist in Led Zeppelin, who then sold the house sometime during the 1990s, but then a few years later took the opportunity to buy the house for a second time before finally selling it again in 2008. The land to our right, from the mill house to the bridge ahead, including White Lily's Island, forms part of Clewer Village. This is the oldest part of Windsor, as there was a Saxon settlement on this site before the time of the Norman Conquest. The present town of Windsor started to develop after 1070, when William the Conqueror first laid the foundations of Windsor Castle.
Some nice private land right there. Look. Here's one for sale right here.
Ahead of us is Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, the relief road to the right of which forms one of the boundaries of Clwyd with the rest of Windsor. This bridge was completed in 1966 and joins Windsor up with the M4 about 2 miles off to the left. An interesting feature of this bridge is the line of red squares which span the bridge just below the handrail.
Another beautiful tree.
These are for the benefit of swans. It was found that swans have great difficulty distinguishing shades of grey. Consequently, on cloudy days, swans flying along the river would often not see the bridge until the last moment, having to swerve sharply to avoid it. And on a few occasions, a rather angry swan has been found walking clumsily along the carriageway, holding up a line of traffic. It was found that swans are able to see the colour red quite easily, so these markers were put on both sides
Where the
of the
swans
bridge
would
to help them
crash
with their navigation.
Die. So they put those red markings.
Sometimes we see boats on the Thames with interesting histories, in particular those which took part in Operation Dynamo in 1940. These are the Dunkirk little ships. Operation Dynamo lasted 9 days and resulted in over 1/3 of a million Allied troops being rescued from the beaches of Dunkirk on the coast of northern France. The operation was planned by Vice Admiral Ramsay, who sent out an appeal to private boat owners and operators of small commercial craft who could get close to the shore. Around 800 boats were hastily assembled, of which about 150 are still in existence. Often being of wooden construction, these little ships can usually be recognised by a small brass plaque on the wheelhouse inscribed Dunkirk 1940. They may also fly the flag of the Association of Dunkirk Little Ships, which is the cross of St George with the crest of Dunkirk in the centre. On the left-hand bank between here and the railway bridge, we'll pass 2 small green footbridges. These are the upper and lower bargemen's bridges, and as their name suggests, they were originally built to facilitate the pulling of horse-drawn barges. The bridges cross the downstream ends of the Cuckoo Weir stream, which divides a little further up. This intriguing stretch of water can be seen by taking one of our half-hour
It's got a nice garden, huh?
which
The
departs
yellow
from
one?
2 gardens near Jacob's Island. Operating in fair weather during the peak season, the low-level 12-seat open boat is ideal to negotiate the low trees and bridges, while skimming over the shallow riverbed, affording a unique view of wildlife and the untrodden overgrown banks. This boat also passes close to the Swan Lifeline Centre.
Sweet love.
Ahead of us we will soon see one of the finest views of Windsor Castle. It was on this same site that in 1070 William the Conqueror built a simple wooden fortress, choosing this site for its all-round defensibility with views along the Thames Valley, allowing him to guard the western approaches to London. Prior to the Norman conquest, Edward the Confessor had held court at the royal manor of Kingsbury, in what we now know as Old Windsor, until his death in January 1066. The proximity to the River Thames was no doubt the prime reason for choosing this location, the waterway being the main highway to London in the east. Prior to Norman conquest, William built a ring of fortresses within 1 day's march of London, of which Windsor is undoubtedly the finest. In addition, the extensive Windsor Forest offered excellent hunting, and William chose to live there until his death in 1087. The concept of castles was unknown to the Saxons, and it was part of William's plan to ensure the permanence of the conquest. The castle has been added to by various monarchs, not always to the benefit of its king. Shortly by King George IV, he employed the architect James Wyatt, who did much to reshape and modernise the castle, improving the roofings of the buildings. He then realised the need to raise the height of the round tower so that it once more stood proud of the surrounding structures. An extra 32 feet was added to its height and it was pedestrianised. Fortunately, Queen Elizabeth Bridge had been opened 4 years earlier and was able to carry all roads traffic heading north out of Windsor. The white framed bay window turned out of the bridge is part of the Sir Christopher Wren Hotel, so called because for many years it was believed that the building was built and lived in by Sir Christopher Wren, the architect of the 17th and 18th centuries. However, in recent years it was realised that no evidence exists to show that this was his home. Whilst it is known that Wren did indeed live in Windsor when his father became the Dean of Windsor, it is not known where. Wren was responsible for designing the dome of St Paul's Cathedral, the London Observatory and 51 London churches after the Great Fire of 1666. He also completed the building of the Windsor Guildhall, started by Sir Thomas Fitz, who died before completion.